All right, the Democratic Party today is a sad tale. That's the subject of the riff. 6 months into the Trump administration, with the president transforming virtually every area of politics and policy, it is astonishing to me how bad the Democrats are. Now, I say this as someone who was once a Democrat a long time ago, but I also say it as somebody who grew up politically in the Reagan 80s, when the art of talking to Democrats on an issue-by-issue basis was in full swing. A lot of Democrats didn't like Ronald Reagan, but a lot of Democrats did. I'm thinking about tax cuts, for example. When full-scale tax reform and simplification, sponsored by Reagan, passed 97-3 in the U.S. Senate, Al Gore voted for it. Joe Biden voted for it. John Kerry voted for it. So did Ted Kennedy. Over in the House, the bill passed by a voice vote, didn't even bother running a tally. Now, way back when, Ted Kennedy was a leader in deregulation. Al Gore, who, of course, ran with Clinton in 92 and 96, he was a moderate Democrat. He was a defense hawk and a strong anti-communist. Georgia Democrat Sam Nunn pushed for a lower capital gains tax and a strong defense budget. Bill Clinton worked with the Newt Gingrich Congress to pass welfare reform, lowered the capital gains tax, curbed excess spending, and yeah, the budget got balanced. Of course, there were big disagreements between the political parties, but the Democrats were still in touch with blue-collar working folks. There was no crazy woke cultural rebellion. And the art of persuasion and respectful political discourse was alive and well. Now, with the greatest of regret, we all know those days are way over. What's so astonishing to me is how today's Democrats, suffering from a rapidly progressive disease known as Trump derangement syndrome, care only about attacking President Trump, not the issues he's discussing. Now, there are some exceptions, like a John Fetterman, a couple of House members, but not many. On all these 80-20 issues, think of it: closing the border, deporting criminals, law and order and crime, biological males and women's sports, denuclearizing Iran, anti-Semitism and DEI at the elite colleges, even cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. It's astonishing to me that Democrats line up at the short end of the stick every time. Democrats used to be the party of Catholic working-class voters. Today, they oppose religious faith at every turn and seem to have nothing in common with the men and women who work with their hands on a daily basis. Even now, Democrats popping up everywhere trying to stop Donald Trump from ending Iran's uranium enrichment nuclear programs, which has been a steady promise of both political parties down through the decades. But because Mr. Trump is doing it, Democrats are mouthing off about the War Powers Act, which has nothing to do with anything. I'm watching smart Democrats that I worked with in government, who were senior members of the intelligence committees, appear in front of cameras and go completely incoherent. Of course, it's the Democrats who are always aligned with Israel, going all the way back to Hubert Humphrey and Harry Truman. Well, why are they doing this? Because they want to attack Donald Trump. There's no issue analysis. It's just all about attacking Donald Trump. No constructive solutions, only calling Donald Trump one name after another. And you can be sure that the public is getting very fed up with the Democratic Party's performance. And ironically, they're not even opposing Mr. Trump as a far-out right-winger. It's actually President Trump who is bringing politics and policy back to the center. But the Democrats are so far out to the left, they can't see how well Trump has regained the middle ground. The Democratic Party today is a very sad tale. But you already knew that. And that's the riff.